Video tutorial we will be looking at IELTS writing module. Writing is probably supposed to be the most difficult skill in IELTS exam, but I'll try to make this presentation as simple as possible for you to understand what is involved in writing. Basically, this one is an introduction to IELTS academic writing and IELTS general writing, and then because there are two tasks in IELTS writing, both academic and general, so we will be looking at those two tasks in detail in coming lectures. Have a look at the structure of the course. We have done so far 5 lectures, and this is IELTS writing. It's a brief introduction. As I mentioned on my first slide, that writing involves two types of tasks, task 1 and task 2. This is the only thing you will find on IELTS writing. Task 1 is letter writing or report writing, and task 2 is essay writing. And I have made separate presentations on both of these. You could see lecture 7 is about letter writing and lecture 8 is about essay writing. So first of all, let us have a look at IELTS writing, what is involved and what's the time frame for that. First of all, IELTS academic and general writing, the task is both tasks actually 60 minutes, 20 minutes for task 1 and 40 minutes for task 2. There are two tasks, as I said. You're required to write at least 150 words for task 1 and at least 250 words for task 2. There are two parts. Academic writing involves, in task 1, you are presented with a graph, a table, a chart or a diagram, and are asked to describe, summarize or explain the information in your own words. This is a way of decoding the graph, chart or diagram, whatever you get, and write it in your words. You may be asked to describe and explain data, describe the stages of a process and how something works, or describe an object or an event. On the next slide, I will have a sample question and I will talk about that in a bit more detail. There we go. So this is the sample question, task 1 for academic IELTS writing. You will have this type of question. This is just one sample taken from one of the previous IELTS papers. You should spend 20 minutes on this task. Now, obviously, writing 150 words in 20 minutes is a bit challenging, but you will not be doing this for the first time. You will have done a lot of practice before that. I would suggest you to get hold of past papers and do every activity, every task before the actual exam. So in this case, you will have written reports on many tasks, task 1. So for example, in this task, the question says the chart below shows the number of men and women in further education in Britain in 3 periods and whether they are studying full-time or part-time. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. So you will have something like that, 1970 to 71, and it goes up to 1990-91, and this is men and women in further education, thousands. So this number is in 1,000, 2,000, 200,000, 400,000 and up to 1,200,000. So you could see this as well. Full-time education is the black graph, so the bar here, and part-time education is this light color bar. And from this information you can see that the number of full-time students in Britain between these years has always been smaller than the number of full-time students. Now what you have to do is there's no right or wrong way. You can start from anywhere, but be careful that you write 150 words minimum. I'll tell you how to write 150 words, but first of all, what is the theme? What is the technique behind this? This is an information in the form of a picture. Okay, you have to write this information in the form of an essay, a paragraph, or paragraphs. Okay, so you are writing this information in words for such a person who does not understand the picture form of this information. So it is very simple. The information remains the same. You don't have to add anything from your own perspective. You don't have to subtract anything. What you have to do is you have to describe it as it is. So there is no test of knowledge here. There is only the test of your skill, how you transform the picture data into an essay or into an 150 words paragraph. Okay, so this is the theme, this is the technique that the examiners are looking for. So it is just like that. You watched a movie, yeah, for example, and somebody asks you, can you tell me about that movie? Obviously you watched it. It was in the form of a picture, a movie, a film. But when you describe it to your friend or anyone, you describe it in the form of a story. Okay, so how good your skills are to transfer that film into a story. Exactly the same principles apply here. You look at the picture and you describe it in the form of words, in the form of paragraphs or essays. So you remember one thing, all the information is available here. You don't have to add anything, you don't have to subtract anything, you just have to explain it to somebody who cannot understand the picture format. Okay, now 150 words. You remember one thing, following instructions in any exam, not only in IELTS, is extremely important. For example, I give this example every time I talk about instructions. If I am thirsty, I need water, or for example, for some medical reason, somebody needs water and you bring them pizza, that wouldn't serve the purpose. Okay, that is useless. Even if pizza is expensive, water is free, or sometimes it is very cheap. But what is required is water, not pizza. So in the same way, you are required to write at least 150 words. Yes, 10, 15 or 20 words above this limit is fine, but not more than that. Okay, how do you write that? When you get the writing booklet, answer booklet, you write the first 3 lines. Okay, everybody writes certain number of words in each line. For example, my average in every line is 9 words. So for example, if your average is 10 words, you write 3 lines, that's 30 words. Okay, so the exam the answer sheets are standard. Okay, you write 2 or 3 lines, you see what is your average, and then you can count the lines and you can tell where you will write 150 words. I mean, how much space will you cover to write 150 words? So stick to these instructions, stick to the word limit, and you will definitely get credit for that. So one more thing. If I ask you to describe something in 50 words and you spend 2 hours to describe that, I wouldn't be happy. This is not your skill. The skill that I want to see is whether you can bring that 1 hour or 2 hour lecture in 50 words or not. Okay, so for example, if you have to spend 200 words to describe something, that is fine, but the skill is whether you can contract that in 50 words. If you can, it means you are a skilled user of language. So be careful about that. Next one. In task 2, you are requested to write an essay. You're asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. So it's a kind of argumentative essay, or you could say persuasive essay. The issues raised are of general interest to suitable for and easily understood by test takers entering undergraduate and postgraduate studies or seeking professional registration. The topics of the test, which you will see on the next slide, are something which everybody can write on, especially those people who are willing to take undergraduate or postgraduate studies. Okay, so this would be perfectly suitable for them. Let us have a look at the at a sample question, task 2. This is one of the questions from previous papers, past papers. So it would be something like that. You should spend 40 minutes on this task, and whenever it says you should spend 40 minutes or you should spend 20 minutes, I would suggest you to spend 5 minutes on planning. Okay, planning is extremely important. Without planning, your writing would not be organized, your writing would not be coherent and cohesive. It wouldn't be flowing like a stream. So planning is very, very important. If you don't do planning, you plan the whole way. You plan every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, every 2 minutes. So how much time would you spend on planning if you don't plan in the beginning? So spend 5 minutes in the beginning, and the rest of the time you will spend in writing. But if you don't plan, then after every paragraph you will be stuck. You will be thinking about, now what should I write? So this will eat up your time. So 40 minutes. So you could say that you spend 5 minutes in planning, 30 minutes at least in writing, and then 5 minutes in proofreading. Proofreading is extremely important skill. Write about the following topic. Children who are brought up in families that do not have large amounts of money are better prepared to deal with the problems of adult life than children brought up by wealthy parents. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this opinion? Now, there are two things. Either to disagree or agree would make your life easier. But if you want to write a balanced argument, for example, you think that this is yes, this you agree with that, but there are some people who disagree, so you acknowledge that as well. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. The best examples that the examiners like are personal examples, examples from your life. If you don't have any examples from your life, just make them up. Just make stories. Okay, once again, this is not the test of your the facts. It is the test of your knowledge, your skill to write, persuasive writing, arguments, your skill to engage in arguments. So write at least 250 words. Apply the same formula as I told you in task 1, how to write 250 words. It's very easy. Once you do it, you will do it again and again without any problems. So this is an argument. Okay, so what you do is you plan for 5 minutes. In that plan, you should decide what you are going to write in the introductory paragraph, and then at least have 3 to 4 very good strong arguments. I mean, you brainstorm, you get like 6-7 arguments, choose the best 4 out of them, and the best 4 arguments go into 4 very nice good paragraphs. Okay, so you remember, you make a point, you give some evidence, you explain that. If there is a counter argument, you counter that, and then you conclude the paragraph. That is how you do every paragraph. Okay, once again, I would say that don't just create problems, give solutions. Okay, so for example, if there is a topic like TV is good for teenagers, do you agree or disagree? If you disagree, then don't say that it is not good for teenagers for this reason, for that reason. This is just creating a problem. If it is not good, why it is not good, then what is good for them? Okay, what is the alternative for that, or how TV could be used in a productive, nice and a good way? So give the problem, give the actual scenario of the problem, then give your arguments, and then give some solution. Okay, and then write a conclusion. One very critical point: in your conclusion, you never introduce any new idea. You only summarize what you have done in the text. Okay, so on the next slide, I will show you how you can learn more about this. Okay, so if you want to learn more about essay writing tasks, so I have got this lecture number 8 where I explain everything in detail, how to present your argument in a best possible way, or in the most convincing or persuasive way. So go to watch lecture 8 for a detailed guidance on essay writing task. Academic writing responses to task 1 and 2 should be written in an academic, semi-formal, neutral style. What does that mean? That means that your language should be academic, means no slangs, no contractions. Obviously you would question, why no contractions? Contractions are used, they are normal. Yes, fine, they are normal, they are not slangs, but in academic writing or academic style, it is better to write good language, full language, no contractions. Yes, unless there is a dialogue, I would say avoid contractions. It should be semi-formal. Yes, sometimes you use informal words, but semi-formal, it shouldn't be completely formal, because you are discussing about a serious topic. You are arguing, you are persuading, you are convincing. It's a matter of some significance, so that's why it should be semi-formal. Neutral style. What is neutral style? Neutral style means you should be objective, don't be subjective. Don't try to impose your ideas, your thoughts in the essay. Don't be a boss, don't be like a dictator. Be open-minded and try to present things as they are, and if you don't agree with them, give your reasons, but at the same time acknowledge other things. And neutral style also means that don't use you pronouns, don't use I pronouns, use one, people. For example, if you say this will watching too much of television will affect you, don't say that. You could say watching too much of television can affect people. Okay, so this is neutral. Neutral people includes everybody. Okay, next. Academic writing assessment criteria in task 1. Depending on the task type, you are assessed on your ability to organize, present, and compare data. Okay, so when you are writing the task 1, which is the description of the data or the chart, don't say, oh, this is how it is, this is how it is, this is how it is. Analyze that, compare data. Okay, you could say, for example, in 1970 these many students got into education, higher education. In 1990s this number dropped, these are the reasons, this could be the reason. Okay, to describe the stages of a process or procedures. So it's easy to describe an object or event or sequence of events, and to explain how something works. Okay, so you have to go a little bit beyond that and compare and analyze things. Academic writing assessment criteria. Task 2, depending on the task type, you are assessed on your ability to present a solution to a problem. As I said, that don't create problems, give solution. This is where you get good marks. This is where you get good grades in any form of argumentative writing. To present and justify an opinion. Okay, I normally tell my students that whether you lie or whether you speak the truth, you have to justify it. I'm not saying that you should lie, but when you are trying to write an essay, you make up things, and make up things means fiction. Fiction means story. Story means something that is not a fact. But if you can prove that, if you can justify that, that is perfectly fine. Even if the examiners don't agree with that, it doesn't matter. You need to come up with some solution, some justification for that, to compare and contrast evidence and opinions. So you bring in your evidence, you bring in somebody else's evidence, and then you compare, and then you conclude. That is what it means to evaluate and challenge ideas, evidence, or an argument. To challenge, so for example, you present a data that, for example, at this university a study was done that watching television is good for teenagers. Okay, now you don't agree with that, but don't say this is just nonsense, this is a wrong report, this is this, that. No. Okay, you say, I appreciate that, I acknowledge that, but probably the study did not cover these areas, but probably the study did not address to these points. So this is how you give counter argument, which I talked about earlier. In general training writing, in task 1, you are presented with a situation and are asked to write a letter requesting information or explaining the situation. So this is the letter writing task. So the letter writing task is the task 1 in general training. Okay, and the task 2 is the same. The letter may be formal, semi-formal, or informal, so that depends on the question. On the next slide you will see a sample question, but let me make it clear here. In academic writing, task 1 is describing the data, chart, graph. Okay, in general training writing, task 1 is letter writing. In academic writing, task 2 is essay writing, and in general training, task 2 is essay writing. So task 2 is same in both, but the topics are different. Academic is a bit challenging, more complex, and general training are essays, topics of general nature. Right, here we go. Task 1, general training. You should spend about 20 minutes on the task. As I mentioned earlier, how to divide time, planning, actual writing and proofreading. So you should apply that on every question, so I don't have to go over that again. You live in a room in a college which you share with other students. However, there are many problems with this arrangement and you find it very difficult to work. Write a letter to the accommodation officer at the college. In the letter, describe situation, explain your problems and why it is difficult to work, and say what kind of accommodation you would prefer. Let me choose the pen. All right, when you write your letter, don't just think that these are only suggestions. You must understand that it is a must for you to address these. Okay, these are not, oh, you should do that. It is a must. Okay, so if you describe these things, your letter will be in a very nice, good shape. So you should write 150 words. You do not need to write an address. So for example, house number this and that, street this. You don't have to. Just start your essay with dear sir or madam, or if you're writing to your friend, dear Tom, stuff like that. So in the next slide I will talk about, this is the next slide. You need to watch lecture 7 for a detailed guidance on letter writing. So I here briefly discuss about letter writing, but if you want a complete guidance on letter writing, how to frame it, how to open the letter, how to close the letter, everything is in that. It's a quite long detailed presentation, so go to lecture 7 and I'm sure that it will be very useful for you. Next, general training writing. In task 2, you are asked to write an essay in response to a point of view, argument, or problem. The essay can be slightly more personal in style than the academic writing task 2 essay. So these essays are a bit more personal. I mean, they can be topics relevant to you, your life, your ambitions, whereas in academic writing, the topics are of social issues, on social issues, for example, education, about education, about global warming, about getting into higher education, about free education, all these type of things. Topics are of general interest. So here is a sample of task 2 general. Spend 40 minutes, rest of things are same. In Britain, when someone gets old, they often go to live in a home with all other people where there are nurses to look after them. Sometimes the government has to pay for this care. Who do you think should pay for this care, the government or the family? Give reasons of your answer and include any relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. So once again, if you want to know about essays, go back to my lectures and watch my lecture on essay writing task. The guidance for the number of words is the same for both academic and general training. Okay, general training writing assessment criteria. Depending on the task type, you are assessed to engage in personal correspondence in order to elicit and provide general factual information. This is about the letter writing, how you present your case, how convincing you are, how good you are to express needs, wants, likes and dislikes, how beautifully you present your likes, dislikes and your opinions. In task 2, you are assessed to provide general factual information. Factual information means facts, to outline a problem and present a solution. You see that this is the core theme throughout. You create a problem, you outline a problem, and you give a solution. To present and justify your opinion, to evaluate and challenge ideas and evidence or an argument. This is more like the academic writing. How does the marking happen? You are assessed on your performance on each task by certified IELTS examiners according to the IELTS writing test assessment criteria. For example, task achievement. Did you complete the task? This is the first criteria. How did you complete the task? Coherence and cohesion. When I talk about essay writing, I discuss about these two concepts. They are very similar. They are very confusing at the same time. So watch that, and you will definitely be clear on these, and it would be very useful. Lexical resources mean what type of vocabulary, what type of expressions you use, grammatical range and accuracy, and is your grammar good, what type of grammar you should use, and what is the range that is liked in IELTS writing exam. So all is discussed in essay writing task and also letter writing task. One of the ways to improve writing skills is to read extensively. Yeah, reading is extremely important. You should start reading every type of materials these days before the actual exam, and that will improve your reading skills, that will improve your vocabulary, that will improve your writing skills. Okay, so that is the end of the presentation. I'm sure that you like it, and if you have any questions you can ask me. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Bye.